All right. Hey, good morning, YouTube. What's going on? Welcome to Hump Day. Everybody's excited to get through the week. What's going on out there? Thanks everybody for checking in, either now or later. Just your reminder for today, though, there is a phone alert test scheduled for this afternoon. And I think it's pretty simple. Don't freak out about it. Just turn your phone off. Turn your phone off for a few hours. See if you can exist without it. That'd be the simple way to get around the whole mess and probably enjoy some relaxing time to go along with it. So that's just my word of advice for the ever so overhyped FEMA emergency test they're talking about putting out today. So everybody's talking about all the different theories about what's going to go on. It's part of a martial law plan. It's something this, something that. Fairly hilarious. But just turn your phone off. You don't have to worry about it. I'm sure somebody will tell you if it ends up being something different. So just throwing that out there. Let's go over, check in on our weather system snapshot. We got winter coming in. Winter is coming in. Nice blue there in southern Canada. I think there was a picture video yesterday. They were digging out of snow in Calgary. They had like 6 inches or more. It was pretty impressive for a first snow of the winter. I was jealous. But it looks like they're getting it all through there in northern Montana. There's a little bit of snow and ice. I don't think it's made it to 001 Crom's area. Which, speaking of 01 Crom, he's been kind of absent lately. He's probably doing his winter preps. He's probably staying busy. But it is what it is. Checking in out there. Tommy Boy 9's with us. He's first. What's going on? You don't have a smartphone? I don't think it matters if you have a smartphone. You're still going to get the call. The more of the funny part of it was people just hypothesizing what it could actually mean, that it had some meaning behind it. They were going to announce something other than this is a test. That was the funny part of some of those conspiracies. And Barry Wood is with us. Good morning, sir. So we did get a little rain through here yesterday. Been fairly cloudy. You can see there's a little bit of rain in central Nevada. Moving around, a little bit of green dots here and there. Been hit and miss. It's kind of the way it is, but it was a good little shower or whatnot. Made everything wet. And if we get some more, they had some brutal flash flooding down in Phoenix, Arizona area yesterday and Monday, I believe. Remnants of that hurricane that came out of the Pacific. It looked pretty. There's cars and buses stranded and everything else from a lot of the flash flooding. That was pretty unexpected, the wrong word. But came upon them pretty quick. I don't know that they were thinking it was going to be that bad. But also, looks like northern Michigan there's getting some pretty severe storms. That'll be drifting east. But everybody else looks pretty clear. All right, pretty nice fall day. Hopefully get some work done ready for winter, right? But following up, this Indonesia's just getting racked. So the same place that had the tsunami last week, after the earthquake they had last week, thousands dead, and a volcano has just now erupted. It's like 200, 300 kilometers, I think they said, north of the town that actually we saw that cell phone video of the tsunami coming ashore. It's not very far off. and now you're going to dump ash on it. That's definitely a sign, I think, to leave that island. This is a perfect example of human migration should happen. Uh, by all means, take every opportunity to pack your things and get out. Earthquake, tsunami, volcano is a good sign that it's not going to be stable to live there. Of course, this might be the last time it happens, and you ride this out, rebuild, and you'll be good for another couple hundred years. Depends on how you look at it, I guess. But I don't know that it's likely to be that long before another disaster comes their way. Let's check out this video here.
Continues to punish the Indonesian island of Sulawesi after an earthquake and tsunami that killed more than 1,400 people last week. A volcano erupted there on Wednesday. Mount Soputin blew its top, sending ash nearly
Let's expand that.
20,000 feet into the sky. Authorities warned planes to avoid the area, but no evacuations were ordered immediately after the eruption. The volcano isn't near the area impacted by last week's earthquake and tsunami, but at least one Indonesian expert says the powerful 7.5 magnitude quake could have sped up the eruption of Soputan. It is one of the island's most active volcanoes.
So yeah, more disaster on top of disaster there. Not the most devastating of volcanoes, but still. Let's see if there's any additional information down here. They got the death toll at 1,400 from the tsunami and earthquake. 70,000 are displaced from their homes. Can you imagine that? That's definitely a disaster. There's also another article link below. Where did I put it? Did it? Override. This also has a separate video, I think, out of New Zealand. There is that same video right now, just like the tsunami. Not a whole lot of images coming out of there. And it says here also in this tweet, the volcano that's off Java, known as the Son of Krakatau, the really old school big one, is being active as well. It's spreading throughout the region. So that whole ring of fire is getting warmed up, it looks like. This is that Son of Krakatau, or whatever you call it. Let's see. Krakatau also is erupting, it looks like. Shoot the link into the comments there from this one. It's definitely looking fairly active. I don't know if I... Looks menacing nonetheless, even if it's not spewing out all the ash and everything that the other one is. And it's probably in a more remote area, it looks like, too. made it sound like it was off the coast of Java. So, be interested to see if that gets more active or just continues to put out lava there. You can see going into the ocean. That's our disaster update, I guess you'd say. The Ring of Fire, all the Pacific volcanoes you'd want to keep aware of. Yeah. What's your favorite doomsday scenario that could be leading off here? See what happens. Moving on. What else is going on today, right? Other than stupid judge stuff, as I continue to refer to it. Hey, Barry says some cities in northern Indonesia are telling their officials to twice a day or find a new job. Is that right? Well, I thought they did that anyway, Barry. They're pretty much Islamic country, but I don't know how they push it like that. But that's not surprising. I think how does it go? Is it in Islam they pray to Mecca 5 times a day, something like that? I can never remember the number. I guess twice a day would be while they're at their official job, and then of course they would have their ones at home that they're supposed to do as well if they're devout. But anyway, moving on. Look at the economic situation continue to unravel. Everybody, we rolled up at $1 trillion in debt in 1 year once again. The whole MAGA agenda kicking in, I guess. But this from a Fed chairman has a positive outlook. He was asked, the key takeaway from this one that I was looking for is he was also, somebody asked the Fed chairman if the market was too good to be true, or the economy, and he said it was a reasonable question. But he didn't answer it, I guess. They just went through all the stats. This is out of speech yesterday, which is not an official statement. It's not part of official release of any new data or anything. So it's a Boston conference, it looks like, where he's speaking. And really, they're in uncharted territory because they've never inflated anything this far. So they're just playing it by year like everybody else, waiting to see what, just trying to keep it going and see what breaks first. It's kind of like running your car on no oil. You drive it and see how far it'll go before it quits on you. It's kind of where we're at, in my perspective at least. So this quote here, from the standpoint of our dual mandate, this is a remarkably positive outlook. Since 1950, the U.S. economy has experienced periods of low, stable inflation and periods of very low employment, but never both for such an extended period of time as it sees in these forecasts, he added. He attributed the balance to aggressive Fed action to control and respond to inflation expectations. If a belief grows that inflation is building, Businesses sometimes will raise prices and increase wages to head them off. Similarly, a belief that inflation will remain too low also can depress activity. I've never heard of a business raising wages because they see inflation coming. They'll either try to cut costs or raise prices. I've never heard of anybody saying, "Oh, we're going to get inflation. Let's raise everybody's wages." They wait till somebody beats down their door and says, "Hey, we can't afford stuff. Give us a pay increase." Only the time businesses see inflation show up is when they start paying too much for their resources that they have to put into their business usually. Then they raise prices. And they might give a pay raise depending on how much they want to keep their people. I just wanted to see what he had to say. They had the tagline over here on the Drudge was how Fed chairman says economy too good to be true. I don't know that they quoted him saying that, but questions. Oh man. Hey Walter Davis, good morning. What's going on out your way? Midwest Preppers with us. Good morning, sir. Asking all the hard-hitting questions from his end out there. So tying into the Fed's forecast and outlook, Turkey, and the question out of Turkey is who is bailing out the banks? Well, can't they just bail out themselves by printing more money? But with Turkey's currency crisis and everything going on, so this is actually a zero hedge original. So with their issues with currency and everything else, they're asking the question, who is bailing out the banks? In 2014, Turkey emerged as the mystery hub in what at the time may have been the most bizarre money laundering scheme ever, even more so than the Federal Reserve, I guess, which also included China and Dubai. Involved 200 tons of secret gold shuffled to Iran in order to allow the sanctioned nation to avoid U.S. sanctions while continuing to export oil without getting paid in U.S. dollars. See, is that if we all just did that, so much simpler. Just trading gold and silver and lead and brass and whatever else and drop the dollar. The Fed loses control. While Turkey will likely be a key player in whatever sanctions evading scheme emerges after November, when U.S. sanctions on Iran come into full effect, a new mystery has emerged surrounding the battered emerging market nation whose currency has been one of the biggest casualties of 2018. This time the mystery involves Turkey's state banks, and specifically who bought 10.9 billion liras for 1.8 billion of subordinated debt in hurried sales last week. Okay, so some market shenanigans. So this is an interesting perspective too, with the EU making that whole another entity so that the EU can trade with Iran through that entity to bypass the U.S. sanctions as well. So the EU was doing something similar to avoid that U.S. sanctions on and avoid using the dollar. So it's a mystery about Turkey's state banks and debt that they have brought on, and somebody bought the debt at a deal, it looks like. So that's the question that's been dominating talk among local economists and investors, with speculation focusing on whether assets from the nation's unemployment fund were deployed to boost the lender's capital buffers, effectively effectively constituting a shadow bailout orchestrated by the government. That would never happen. Steal from the People's Unemployment Fund? No, governments don't do stuff like that. Do they? Well, if it's to benefit the bankers who pay their way and prop up their whole agenda, I guess it would be a given, right? According to Bloomberg, in last week of September, state-controlled Turkey Vakıflar Bankası. Man, why can't they just say it in English? The state-controlled bank here, TAO, sold 4.99 billion liras of Tier 1 notes with a fixed-rate coupon payment on a semi-annual basis. Let's get through the economic talk. Another bank sold 2.98 billion liras Tier 2 debt, and another bank, AS, known as Exim Bank, sold 2.9 billion liras Tier 2 debt. So they're trying to go down this rabbit trail, the fiscal, financial rabbit trail, tracking this stuff down here. Complicating any due diligence is that all three were sold through private placements and yields haven't been announced. And due to the private sales, virtually no transaction details have been revealed. So again, it's a shadow bailout or shadow money laundering. If it was put any other way, if anybody else did it, it would probably be called money laundering. That's probably truth right there. So big banks putting in big numbers into untraceable transactions, it looks like. The large transactions took place just before the banks had to reveal their third quarter accounts and could be an effort to beef up capital adequacy ratios hit by the lira's plunge. They also took place after what appeared to be an aggressive liquidation by banks in the past to shore up capital. As reported 2 weeks ago, again, it's Zero Hedge making this. Looks like an original, Zero Hedge original, right? Yeah. Turkish banks pulled out as much as 4.5 billion worth of gold reserves, which they then sold in exchange for more liquid assets. Yeah, governments, we've been so fooled. Obviously, they still value gold. Everybody still values gold. The only reason governments don't like it is because it limits them in what they can do, and they can't pay off their buddies, and they can't do their pet projects. So that's why they invented paper. However, the sale of gold, which is represented in this chart, it looks like official gold reserves dropped dramatically here in the last quarter. This is month after month chart. A quarter, those are quarter charts. September to June, June to May, May to December. Sale of gold appears not to have been sufficient shortfalls, which is where the bond sales came in. Since there was no transparency in the sales, speculation has spread that the unemployment fund bought those bonds. It's one of those things you probably can't prove it unless you're the one doing it. It'll be like taking Social Security and paying off the banks. That would never happen, right? Responding to a Bloomberg inquiry, the scandal-plagued Halleck Bank said that since the bonds were sold through a private placement, it wouldn't be able to provide information about the investors, and the yield will be announced later when coupon payments are made. Likewise, the Vakif Bank said it couldn't provide further information beyond its public statement. So nobody's talking. And the government was also uncooperative. And the quote here from the government looks like the unemployment fund referred questions to ISKR, the government agency it reports to, which declined to comment. The Ministry of Family, Labor, and Social Service also declined comment on the transactions. Probably because whoever runs that agency wouldn't even know about it if they did take it. They would know after the fact, if anything. They would probably be told to suck it up. Similar to Social Security, the Turkish Unemployment Fund was established in March 2002, and as of August had 124 billion in lira assets, which accumulate through mandatory contributions. Wait, mandatory taxation? Accumulate through mandatory contributions from employees, employers, and the state. Bonds make up 89% of those assets, while the rest is deposits. Politicians have bickered frequently over whether those funds should be deployed for purpose other than funding unemployment benefits. Well, of course. Why wouldn't they bicker over it? Because they see it as free money. Yeah. It makes you wonder what they've probably just used to. Our government probably did the same thing, just nobody knows about it. According to Bloomberg, the regulator has approved the sale of 18 billion liras in subordinated debt by various banks, with the banks, with AS Bank receiving approval to sell 5 billion liras and Halak Bank with approval to issue another 2 billion. Meanwhile, Turkey's banks have been forced to strengthen their capital bases in response to the lira's 40% plunge this year, which also threatens to increase defaults by borrowers who took out foreign currency loans. Yada, yada. They close out last statement. It was unclear if the local Turkish population was aware that their government-controlled emergency day funds were allegedly used to bail out the local banking sector. There you have it. Which is probably just rewrite that whole sentence. The Turkish population is unaware that their government-controlled emergency funds were used to bail out the local banking sector. There, I fixed it for them. Not good. Another prime example of all the means they'll go to prop up all the falseness in the economy, and that's going to make everybody suffer later when people that rely on those funds or thought they could rely on those funds in retirement or otherwise are going to be sadly mistaken. And that's going to be the same case here, where how many trillions of dollars in deficit in Social Security and Medicare funding that's expected to have to be paid out over the next 10 years or something like that. There's no way to make it up except for to create inflation. So to create more fake paper money so that people get their money, they get the dollar amount, but it doesn't buy anything, essentially. It's like who was the old Fed chairman? Daggum it. The old looking dude with the glasses. He said right in front of Congress, we can guarantee the benefit, but we can't guarantee the purchasing power, right? And he told him straight up, basically, we can inflate our way out of it. But people don't listen. Greenspan? Was that Greenspan? Yeah, it was Greenspan that said that. Yeah, Greenspan went up there and told them, we can guarantee we'll give them all the money they need, just it may not be able to buy anything. It may be worthless. But people ignore you when you bring stuff like that up. Let's see, what else is going on, folks? That's all I had pulled up for today. Obviously, there's always something going on. Kind of got through that a little faster than I thought I would. Okay, Tommy boy, you're happy as long as your checks keep rolling? So that's the whole point of Greenspan's statement, is you might get the same amount in your check, but it's not going to be able to buy nearly as much. Which we all see that a little bit, but it's going to be worse for those who contributed to Social Security and other things, and then can only buy a tenth of what they should. Purchasing power that they should have is diminished greatly. Amazon came out yesterday and said they're going to raise everybody's minimum wage in the Amazon to $15. That won't cause any inflation. Here they're going to ask why. Let's check out why, the real reason. Check that out, other than their social do-goodism. You would think Amazon would, I guess maybe they want to keep their people. There's been a lot of hit pieces on Amazon for the last couple months of unhappy employees. Let's go over and check this out. The real reason, this is a effect here locally, big Amazon warehouse up north here. Would have a big impact on the northern Nevada economy. Tommy boy, you already bought everything you need? You don't use your money? What do you use, buy your alcohol with that, or what? Midwest Prepper says, load your rifle. If it isn't already, stay ready. We're heading into cuckoo season just before elections. Right? That's fully possible. We've seen the video of congressmen's doors being beaten down in the halls of Congress. Like, seriously, somebody's going to get shot. They keep doing what they're doing. We talked about that a long time ago, but it's just going to cause the reaction. That's the problem, is the reaction from the state is going to be so great that it's just going to crush all of us. It's going to be an equal punishment for all type thing. I fear if that kind of thing goes down, because that's what will happen. Some left-wing loony is going to come at somebody with a bat or beat down their door in the middle of the night, some judge, and somebody's going to get shot, and then they're going to just crack down on everybody. Thus, the entrance of the police state. But that's my theory. That thin blue line will keep us peaceful, as we would say. Hey, Backcountry Preps, what's going on? You do any more MAGA hat tests? I like how you go out, you need to video some of those when you go into places, though. At least if anything does happen, you can put, maybe you do and you just haven't put it up yet because it's nothing's bad that ever happened. I do like your commentary there, though. But it's Southern California. You're bound to run into something. But you're a braver man than I. So why is Amazon hiking minimum wages? Appears to be enough more than another self-serving ploy by the world's largest online retailer to not only bolster its staff for the holiday season, right, but to prevent potential part-time holiday laborers from going to the competition. Well, that makes sense. It's a good reason to raise your wages to keep people. The Wall Street Journal reports that companies like Kohl's and JCPenney had started to do their holiday and seasonal hiring months before they usually do, in anticipation of record sales and record competition. So everybody's competing for labor. The needs of these retail companies, including online retailers like Amazon and its direct competitors, have grown substantially. Target is hiring 20% more workers than last year. It's looking to bring 120,000 total seasonal workers. That's the planned hires. Macy's, Target, Kohl's. It doesn't say what this one is. Amazon's new wage, which is the $15 wage, take effect November 1, just in time for the season. This Target and Walmart have failed to keep up with Amazon's pay floor. Target offers $12 per hour, while Walmart recently bumped its minimum wage to $11 per hour. It's all about competition for labor. That's how much inflation there is in the market. They can afford these pay raises. They're not going to do it unless they're forced to, which is forced by competition. But they had the money's floating around out there from because so much has been dumped in.
I learned
dumping all that in there is a sure sign of inflation. Just saying, it's important to remember that this is simply yet another masterful PR trick by Bezos, garnering tons of free publicity, praise for doing the right thing, while at the same time preparing his company for record-breaking holiday season and doing what Amazon does best, hurting the competition. Yeah, that's his job. Can't fault him for that. Definitely not a feel-good, oh, we're just doing it to help the little man get his $15 an hour. That'll have a big effect around here. That Amazon warehouse is huge up here. Definitely a big deal. So Tommy boy, you have cases of liquor, silver, gold, food, and water. That's all you need, right? You're covered. Cases of ammo too, right? Cases of lead and brass. Oh yeah, Midwest, if they're allowed to go to the bathroom, that was what that whole thing was about. Bad employee relations. At Amazon, they weren't allowed to go to the bathroom or something. They had to ask permission all the time, and they were questioned about the length of their bathroom breaks, etc. I don't remember which warehouse that was at. I don't know if that was the one up here or not. I do briefly remember seeing that. Now, from what Amazon's story was, Midwest is it's Amazon wide, not just seasonal help. It's everybody. It's throughout the whole organization, apparently. So that's a lot of dollars. But Bezos is only worth what, a couple billion, so he alone could probably afford. But people don't realize you can't just they run the numbers when these places like Seattle or wherever try to demand $15 wages throughout the jurisdiction or whatever. They've run the numbers how it would just break companies that can't afford it. And that's a lot of what Amazon can do. They can break the competition because they can take the increased cost of labor, because labor really is the biggest cost for most companies. Anybody that employs a number of people. That's why automakers went to robots, because they couldn't afford the labor. Not only the labor cost of the wage, but the health insurance and all the other mandatory unemployment insurance and everything else that's required from hiring these people digs further into their pocketbook. Ask Backcountry Preps how much he spends on labor. Not only is it you have to spend money on that, but you have to spend money on human resources to track the pay, track their medical insurance, track their all that other crap that goes with it to keep everything running smoothly. It's like a self-compounding problem. So that's kind of the highlights for the day, folks. Reminder, keep those cell phones off. This afternoon, the test goes out, so you can, just try it. Just go through the day, trying not to listen to the, have the phone off and just see how peaceful it is for a few hours. You'll hear everybody else is ringing if you're around anybody else, and then you can just turn yours back on when it's over. way we can all avoid the apocalypse together. Hey, Irish, what's going on? Good morning. Oh, it's your 3/4 year budget, Midwest? That's pretty significant. 3.2 of 5.1. Yeah, that's a significant chunk. And it takes money to make money, but you have to get there somewhere. Midwest, you're interested to see if it breaks into Sirius XM. Oh, the national alert. I think this is a cell phone. This is cell phone test alert anyway. I don't think it's going to be going like the landlines. I think this is a specific announceable test. I don't think it goes like over the radio, like because the radio already does their monthly test on all locations. All radio stations have to do their monthly test. So this is separate, I believe. I believe it might go break over radio too, but because if you listen to Sirius usually on the weekends they have the test on Sirius because they're required to do it at a time, like when in the daytime, just to not always shove it in the midnight hours when they have nothing else going on. They're required to do it during the daytime, but usually Sirius does it on a weekend. It seems like from what I've seen, but I've heard them on Sirius before, the monthly alert tests. Tommy boy, how much silver do you want for one of those pigs? Oh man, let me get 5 ounces, Tommy boy, for the older ones. I'll take 3 ounces for the younger ones. How about that? Hey Walter, yeah, you've under a rock, Walter. FEMA's doing everybody's listing it as the presidential test, but everybody was talking about Trump calling their phone. Well, it's going to be FEMA. It's just considered part of a presidential declaration. If in the event of an emergency, would come a directive from the president down to launch it. But everybody, half the left was freaking out because they didn't want Trump calling their phone. It was funny, some of the opinion articles out there. People don't know what they're talking about. Hey LS, good morning. How you doing? You're going to be in the car at that time, Midwest? All right, right on. Oh, and that's what. So, see, now I'm going to have I might do this at lunch. I have a hypothesis. I have a question. Is it possible to rig the cell tower system and push a surge EMP like signal over the cell system and basically take everything down? If you could hijack a system like this, could you push out a wavelength or signal that would basically disable everything? Or would it be like a computer hack? If you could hack that system, could you put out a signal through the central system to disable the entire cell system? Just a thought. That's the only bad thing. I was thinking of bad things that could happen. I'm like, well, if you could hijack this notification system and commandeer it the way they are able to, could you disable the whole cell phone communication system, either with an EMP style or like a hack signal of some sort? That was the really bad thing that I was thinking of, that if I was China or somebody, could I do that? That's my conspiratorial mind and what I'm thinking about. Oh, it's not really a prank call, Walter. It's kind of a scheduled thing that everybody's just making out more than what it is. I'm sure it'll probably be a test thing, and they'll probably get a hot mic of him saying something like, "We start bombing Iran in 5 minutes," like Reagan did back in the 80s. Got caught on the hot mic prepping for the debate or whatever. Catch Trump on some hot mic like that. That send people into a panic. Are you watching TV, Tommy Boy? You should know better than to watch TV. You know that's bad for you. So is that Mitch McConnell's trying to roll Kavanaugh? They've got enough publicity, and they probably fundraised enough they can drop him and pick somebody else up. That's all they're doing at this point. Both sides are raising lots of money and getting lots of elections pushed, and everybody's getting to pick their sides and stir up the base and all the other political maneuvers they're using this sideshow for to get things going. Oh, Walter, there you go. Skynet launches today. That would be even more. Yeah, didn't see it coming, right? Yeah, I would be completely wrong if that happened. I just thought it was going to be a innocent alert test, and Skynet launches. That's why you should turn your phone off, because they're going to take over everybody's phone, and your phone kills people. That's what they're doing today, Walter. It's going to put out the order for Skynet, and everybody's cell phone comes to life and kills them. That's the, yeah, might want to turn those off. Definitely my advice. All right, that's enough joking around here, folks. Y'all have a good day. Thanks for checking in. We will talk at you sometime between now and Friday. If not, we'll see you Friday, right? Wow, what happened to that page? Oh, okay. Leave you with your weather snapshot if you didn't see it. We're starting to get more rain in the west than in the east. It's a miracle. Zap us with all the frequencies, says Tommy Boy. Okay. Yeah. All right. Have a good day, folks. We'll talk to y'all later. Live free.